Yes, I can.
Awesome. So I'll go ahead and kick it off with the demo for today. So today we are discussing the design secrets behind the investment suite dashboard that we created a few weeks ago. One of the things that I'm also going to touch on with this dashboard is how we embedded it into our custom portal. Alrighty. So a quick walkthrough of the dashboard. So here's the investment dashboard that we'll be covering today. This dashboard displays performance information for various portfolio and holding information. Alrighty, so you have up top your bands, you have your trend for your net worth. You have breakouts by regions, allocations, and sectors. And then you have some additional trend information and some KPI information. So your day-to-day change, week-to-date, month-to-date, quarter-to-date. And then you also have a breakout. The bars represent whatever metric is selected here. So we can switch between a series of metrics. What's neat about this dashboard is that you can also navigate to another dashboard, all while staying in the same Tableau workbook. So up top, if you wanted to change from looking at the investment performance to looking at an investment comparison where you can select two different tickers to compare, here's the dashboard that allows you to do that. All right, so those are the dashboards that we're going to walk through today. All right, so the focus point of our session today is one, to show you how we've embedded this dashboard into a custom portal and some of the things and the items that go into a custom portal. And then two, in terms of the development of the dashboard, I'm going to show you how to create these modern backgrounds in Figma and then how you design to it in Tableau. Alrighty, so first let's talk about the requirements for the dashboards. So there are two dashboards, the investment performance and the investment comparison dashboard. The investment performance dashboard, what we wanted to do is display the performance from the aggregate portfolio and by the holding levels. This dashboard will also show the asset allocation exposures, aggregate dividend yield, expense ratio, and common investment risk statistics. The investment comparison dashboard is going to compare two mutual fund holdings using important statistical risk and return characteristics, right? So the one that we're going to focus on today is actually the investment performance one. But creating the investment comparison one, I'll show you how the easy trick to create that once you have the background of the investment performance one created. All right. So creating the template. If you all have been following our design secrets, there are a few things that we lay out. First, you want to gather requirements. Second, you want to create a template. Third, you want to start to incorporate some design characteristics like colors, icons, and incorporating good fonts. So the one that we're going to focus on today is creating a template, right? So the template that we're going to design is a modern template that is within the background of our Tableau dashboard. So when we're creating these modern designs, there are a few things that you want to keep in mind. First, I typically like to start with an example in mind. Second, you want to make sure that you are using enough white space. So within Tableau, when you're building dashboards and you're using that tiled functionality, if you don't have a lot of padding in between your dashboards, your items can really look cluttered, right? So one thing you want to focus on for a modern design dashboard is you want to incorporate a lot of white space and let your vids have room to breathe. Third, you want to design to a grid. And this isn't just for a modern design dashboards, for all dashboards in general. You typically want to make sure that you're designing to a grid and use your visual hierarchy to lay out your dashboards. Four, you want to incorporate drop shadows, and I'll explain exactly what drop shadows are. You want to also have rounded corners. And then last but not least, you want to also incorporate large bands. So the example that I have in mind is actually not a modern dashboard. We have a great guy on our team, Zach, who has spent a good number of years within the financial industry, and he's also an amazing coder and Tableau developer. And he created this dashboard based off of the financial data that he was able to pull, right? So we're starting with this example in mind, knowing that we're not actually creating this dashboard from scratch, but more so enhancing the dashboard that Zach went and created, right? So a lot of the elements that are on here, we're gonna make sure that we incorporate them in our modern dashboard once we start to build out our template. overall, I think this contains the structure of what we want to accomplish. We're just going to move some elements around and make it breathe a little bit more. All righty. So to do that, I'm going to create the template in Figma. Figma, if you all aren't familiar with it, it is a free design tool. A lot of web developers and app developers use it to create interactive templates and wireframes. I particularly use it to create templates that I place in the back of Tableau dashboards. It's free to use. You can export for free. I have a free account, and everything that I've needed to do has been free. I haven't upgraded my account. So Figma.com is what we'll be focusing on today in terms of creating this template. All right, so let's go to Figma. Alrighty, so coming into Figma, the first thing that you'll see is typically a blank screen, right? And the first thing that I do whenever I come into Figma is I first add in a page. So I like to create several pages within my template, right? So to add a page, you simply just press the plus icon. Here I'm already starting with page 1. And the first thing that we want to do for the background of our template is we want to ensure that we are creating the rectangle or the size of the dashboard, right? So you know when you're creating a dashboard in Tableau, it's typically some form of rectangle that you're adjusting to a custom size. So here the first thing we want to do is go ahead and create that template. So I simply selected the drop-down icon that has the shapes that I can import into Figma, and I selected a rectangle. From there, we have this nice rectangle that I just created by dragging and dropping and then adjusting the corners. And what you can do on the right-hand side is use the toolbar to adjust the width and the height according to preference. So for this dashboard, I want to size the width of it as 1250 and the height of it as 1500, right? I also want to color the background, and the background of this dashboard is going to be a light gray. So F1, F1, F1. There we have it. So that's the background of our dashboard. Now, step 2 of this is that we want to incorporate our header. So I'm going to start to build out the various aspects of a dashboard. And typically, I start by building out the header and then incorporating the various body components of it. So the first thing I'll do is go ahead and select a new container, a new rectangle. So I'll drag that rectangle in, and I'll create a title area. Now, remember when I went through some of the pointers for a modern dashboard or a modern template, we talked about rounded corners. So here I want to make sure I'm rounding the corners of this rectangle. To do that, on the right-hand side, you can adjust the corner radius. The default is always 0, but we can go ahead and take that up to 10. Next, I want to color this, this header right here. So the color that I want this header to be is that dark blue that you all saw. So the dark blue is 063668. And there we have it. And last but not least, I want to add a drop shadow. So a drop shadow is literally kind of what it says. It allows your objects that you place on your dashboard to have some form of a shadow compared to the background. So right now it has like a very flat design. You see the blue on top of this gray. But if you wanted to give the blue somewhat of a shadow in terms of it laying on top of this gray background, to add a drop shadow, a default drop shadow in Figma, you simply select Effects. And the default is a drop shadow, and I'm leaving all of the components the same here for this drop shadow. And as you can see, now we have a drop shadow along the X and Y axis of this particular rectangle. So that's step 2, adding our header. Next, we want to design the body of our dashboard. So here's where I'm going to add in one more rectangle, and I'll start to incorporate the body of our dashboard. So this is where I'm planning to place the band area. I'm going to change the fill of this to white, which is 6 Fs. We want to make sure that we incorporate that radius again of 10, and that we have a drop shadow, right? So really simple. And then if you drag it left to right, on the left-hand side, you see those those red tickers that appear. That's just to let me know that it's aligning with the element that's above it. All right, so this is going to be our band area. And instead of dragging in another rectangle, I'm simply going to just select this rectangle, hold Control C, Command C on a Mac, and then paste it. So now I have two rectangles next to each other, and I can size this one accordingly. And I'll do the same thing to build out the rest of the body of the dashboard. This one to be in the middle, and this one on the edge. Alrighty. So now we've built in the various components of our dashboard. And things to note that we've done here as I was creating this is I've incorporated a good bit of white space, right? So whenever I'm dividing sections up, I typically try to incorporate a good bit of white space in between various elements. These are probably a little too close, so we can drag it to the left a little. The width here is 355, so we can say 355. 355, right? So you want to make sure that you have this white space in between the various elements. And then you want to make sure you have like the drop shadows and that everything is just clean and roomy on the dashboard. And I think that's really the key to a modern dashboard. Very minimal, very roomy, a lot of white space. Components aren't stacked on top of each other. All right, so we have that. We have our body area down. So now we've duplicated everything and you saw what the final design was. So now we want to go ahead and add some images to this, right? So on the investment dashboard, I've incorporated some header images just to add some aesthetics to this banner up top. So to add an image within Figma, you simply select the drop down up top and you select place image. Now the image that I want to incorporate is going to be one for the left side of the banner and one for the right side. So I'll go ahead and start with the left side. And when you bring it in, be careful not to drop it on your actual template, right? If you drop it on your actual template, what it's going to do is try to take this image and fill that component that you've selected. So I typically just try to drop it on an area that's not selected or nowhere near my template. And there we have it, right? So we drop that in, and now you can change the size of it. So I'll go ahead and drag this in, line it up with the banner, adjust the size of it. I did 225, 124. All right. Next, we want to do the same thing for the next side. Place image. And you can actually bring them both in at the same time. I just chose to do it separate. Alrighty. Pretty sure this was supposed to be 194 for those of you who are following. 225, 194, 225, 194. We're going to line it up perfectly with the corner. And there we have it, right? So the next step here is we want to add in our rectangles for the navigation button. So you saw that the dashboard allowed you to navigate from the investment performance one, right, to the investment comparison one. So now we want to build in those navigation buttons, right? So to do that, I'm going to add in another rectangle up to the top. This rectangle, the first one, I'm going to change the color to white. Going to round the corner to 10 and size it 205, 37. Drag it down just a little bit, right? And I'll also add in drop shadow. Now, instead of dragging in another rectangle, I'm simply going to hold Control and copy it. Oops, there we go. Line it up perfectly. And now this second one, we want it to be blue, right? So the reason that we have one rectangle as white and the other as blue is because the white one is going to signify that this is the selection, this is the dashboard that we're on. And the blue one is going to signify the other option that you can go ahead and jump to. So whichever dashboard we're on, we want that button to essentially be white. So this one, I'll go ahead and fade it to blue. The blue that we'll use, 26507C. There we go. So enough that, it doesn't blend too much in the background and it sticks out enough so that your users still see the option to select it. Boom, there we have it. All right, so next we want to go ahead and finalize our header area. To me, there's a lot of white space in between these two buttons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a line as well as some circles just to accentuate and, add some more visual effects to this header. So to add in a line, you simply select your drop down and you select line. And I'll go ahead and drag a line from the left one to the right one. We're going to change the color of the line to the same blue here. So that's the 26507C. And then I'll also increase the stroke of the line or the weight of the line. I'll take that actually up to 2. And I'm going to send the line to the back or bring these elements forward by right-clicking on them and saying bring to front, right-clicking on this one and saying bring to front. All right, so next I want to incorporate some of those circles that you all saw. To do that, that's another shape. I'm going to drag that in and create the circles. So here we have the first circle. We want these circles to be small. We don't want them to take up too much of the dashboard. So before I drag them down here, I'm going to go ahead and change the width and the height of it to 15, 15. And I'll also change the color of it to the blue that we've been using. And I'll add in the effects. So here we have our first circle. I'm going to line it up perfectly right on top of the line. Take our second circle. Instead of creating one from scratch, I'm simply just going to click on it, Control C, copy, Control V to paste. Circle 2. And circle 3. And now I can hold Shift, highlight all of them, and drag them to the center of the dashboard. And there we have it, right? So now the next thing we want to do, now that we have our circles and we have our lines and everything is pretty much checked out. I think this is, a good start here. Just want to double check everything, export it, and then duplicate it, right? So what the final versions end up looking like are you have your investment performance one here, all right? And then you have your investment comparison one here. And the difference between the two of these, since I just did a copy and paste, is that our investment comparison one, we want the right rectangle to be white, and we want the left one to be blue. So we can actually switch these around like that. I believe I did it on the wrong one, but you all get the case there. Alrighty, so next we're gonna go ahead and export these images, right? So I'm actually going to do this one correctly. Paste it here since I did it on the wrong one. There we go. This one. Alrighty, and then last but not least, I'm just going to validate since I switched some things around that the X and the Y is kind of aligned with these. So here, -545. There we go. For the white one, 149. Perfect. Now to export the background images, simply click on the white space of your template. And on the right-hand side, you're going to see an export. So if you select Export Finance Demo, you are going to see all of the various elements that make up this template. deselect everything except for the main one, which is typically your first one, and select export. And now it's downloaded to our computer. And we can go ahead and switch over to Tableau. All right, so first step, when you are creating a dashboard in Tableau and you're using the Figma template as your background image, you first want to go ahead and create a new dashboard and size the dashboard to the same size as the Figma template. So the width of ours was 1250 and the height was 1500. And now you can drag in an image, place it on top of the dashboard as a tiled object, choose the download of the element that you just downloaded, choose the picture for it. You want to fit it and you also want to center it. And there you have it. Other things that I typically do, I remove the padding on this so that it could fill the entire background. And I also change the background color to match the background color of my Figma template. So you still see that white border on the very outside of the Tableau dashboard. So to get it all to blend, I'm simply just going to format the dashboard and change the dashboard shading. Select more colors, pick the screen color, and then let it blend. And now it all blends. So that's step one. Step two, you want to add your worksheets, right? So I've gone ahead and I've placed in the band worksheet. But to add in your worksheets, I'm pretty sure that you all are very familiar, or I hope that you all are very familiar at this point with, dragging elements onto the dashboard. The only thing I'll note here is that everything has to be floating because you can't have your background image or a Figma background image like this and then have tiled elements on here. So I've gone ahead and placed the bands here. We can add in the net worth floating line chart here. We can then also add in the additional charts here. Change the fit of it to entire view. Entire view. And then the sectors. One thing I'll note here as I drag the sectors in is that regions and allocations, they have very similar amounts of data members, right? So there are 4 regions and there are about 5 allocations, very similar. Whereas sectors has a lot more. So what I do not want to do is do an entire view here, because this just makes the bars very tiny when trying to fit all of this into the screen. And I try to typically keep bar sizes the same on a chart whenever I'm creating anything. And this just defeats the purpose, this sector chart. So if I'm ever running into this issue, typically what I do is I fit with this chart and then I size the row header, the height of the row, very similar to that of the other charts. So here, instead of having, that entire view and things are squished, and as you see, information technology doesn't even wrap, I'm just going to go ahead and let the chart breathe. Typically, when users are reading this, they're consuming probably like the top 5, and then they have the ability to scroll down. I typically don't think that you need to show 1 million bars at one time, right? Especially if the other bars on your chart are a larger width. So we've gone ahead and we've placed those various elements on the dashboard. And once you have all of that on there, you'll then see your dashboard look like this. But what I want to call out with this dashboard, right, is sometimes when you're designing and you're trying to put objects together and make them seem like they have somewhat of a flow on a dashboard, even though they're separate worksheets, it just doesn't seem to work, right? So this day-to-day, week-to-date, month-to-date, these are individual worksheets. That's how Zach designed them. And as the designer who's just editing this dashboard, I didn't want to go in and place everything into the same worksheet. I was trying to minimize the amount of development work that I had to do personally. What you see here is that when you do that and you bring these worksheets in separately, you get like these breaks in the line, right? So a neat trick for that is to remove the padding. So for each of these elements, whenever you drag an object into Tableau, it comes with four pixels of padding on the outside. So what you can do here is remove all of the padding for everything, and it'll start to align. For this one, we actually have to increase the height of this just a little bit to get it to match up. But once you do that, you'll then see your elements start to align perfectly. All right. You'll do that for everything, and you'll start to see everything connect instead of being broken up like this. And yes, it does take a little bit of fudging, you know, to get this chart to line up with the rest of them, but adjusting the inner padding and the outer padding is what's going to allow you to connect multiple sheets together and look as though they have like a unique flow to them, like they're all a part of the same worksheet. And that's how I was able to accomplish that here. All right, and you see the final version of it looks like this. Last but not least, I've gone ahead and added in the dashboard title as well as a description for it. And now I want to build in the navigation for it. To do that, I'm going to drag in a navigation object, drop it here. I'm going to edit the button by clicking more options, selecting edit button. I'm going to tell it what to navigate to, and we want it to navigate to investment comparison. And I'm going to change the button style, instead of it being an image, to text. The text I'll place here is the name of the dashboard. So this one will say investment comparison. And the background color for it is going to be this blue. Excuse me, not the background color of it, the font color of it is going to be, let's keep it with black for right now. Alrighty, press OK. And now you can size it accordingly. Drop this down just a little bit. There we go. It's actually supposed to go on this side. Edit the font of this to be white. There we go. Perfect. And now for this one, on the left-hand side, we actually don't need a navigation button. We can just incorporate the text, investment performance. And that's what we will have as blue. You could then use the layout pane to just make sure that these both align, right? And then from there, you just duplicate your dashboard, and here's what your final versions will look like. For those of you who are wondering about the image and the PDF export buttons, with version 2020 and forward, you can now have export objects on your dashboard, right? So these aren't anything special that I've incorporated. Tableau did all the hard work behind the scenes, and now you can drag in an export object onto the canvas and specify exactly the the file that you want to export it to, as well as the button style. So all I did here was change these to images and then locate those images on my computer, which were right here, the image and the PDF. So that's what those are. And there you have that. Alrighty, so now we'll talk about the embedding part of this, right? So we've created all of this, and What we want to do is we want to share this dashboard with our end users, but our end users are very new to Tableau. They're executives who are used to looking at financial numbers, but aren't necessarily, used to navigating a Tableau server or any type of Tableau environment. So we want to create a way for our end users to go into a custom portal that looks very similar to a website, because I'm very sure that a lot of us have worked with or used websites. So let's go ahead and navigate back to PowerPoint, and I'll show you exactly what the portal looks like. So by default, the portal allows you to sign in, and you can use a single sign-on with your credentials that are associated with your organization. So you can incorporate that into your portal. So here I'm putting in or inputting the username and the password for our portal, and I select login. And the way that our developer created this is that the default for our portal is the analytics tab here. We also have a home button, which just provides more information about the portal itself. And then we also have documents that our users can go to. So it's like a one-stop shop for our finance folks. They can look at our financial contract. They can look at an investment report. And whenever they select any of these links, it'll take them to the dashboard, right? Or the Dropbox link that contains that information. And then they can go ahead and go back to the dashboard, or to the portal. All righty, so what are some of the benefits of having a portal, right? So I broke it down into 6 areas. One, you can customize the front end of the portal. So the demo that I just showed you, and I'll walk more in detail in a second. The portal that I just showed you, we've fully customized the front end of it. It doesn't look like a standard Tableau server. And for those of you who are not familiar with what a Tableau server looks like, here is an example of a Tableau server, right? You come into it, this is our Lovelytics one. You come into the server, you have your recents or recommendations, and typically users who are new to Tableau, this can be a little overwhelming for them, right? You can't customize the look and feel of this too much because it's the out-of-the-box solution with Tableau. I love it, given the fact that, I've been using Tableau for many years now, but sometimes when you're just starting your users out, this may be overwhelming for them and you can't customize it too much. So I love the Tableau server environment. However, we use embedded analytics as a way to enhance the components of a Tableau server. So one of the benefits of a custom portal is that you can customize the front end look and feel of it. You saw that there were a lot of tabs on the Tableau server, whereas we've only allowed the users to have 4 tabs to navigate between. With that, you can engage your users rather quickly. Our default was the analytics page, so they're automatically drawn to the dashboard as soon as they open the portal or log into the portal. And with that, with a customized front end and the ability to engage your users quickly, you can just automatically see an increase in user adoption. I've spent a lot of time in corporate America, and some of these organizations that I've worked for, I came into the organization, they were still stuck in Excel, and we were transitioning everything to Tableau. And what you'll notice is that sometimes the environment can be a little overwhelming, as I mentioned before, and that could potentially hurt your user adoption. So with your users being, familiar with that website look and feel, you can just expect that user adoption would increase, slightly or even drastically with having a customized portal. As I mentioned, it looks just like a website, right? Because it has, I'll show you the components behind it. So it looks just like a website, and users are very familiar with a website look and feel. You can provide users with additional resources right on the portal without having to navigate anywhere else. So if I were to send my users a link to the Tableau server, right, and not the portal, and they wanted to view those documents, I would have to send them another link to view those Dropbox documents that you just saw under the Documents tab. Whereas within the portal, everything is right there on the left-hand side. Let me go back to the portal. Right? Everything is right here on the side. They're not navigating to additional websites or URLs. And last but not least, you can integrate portal authentication, the same as you have user authentication with your Tableau server. All righty, what are some things you need in order to build out your server? What do you actually need for it? So I've broken it down into 3 areas: develop, host, and customize. So obviously you saw that we developed our dashboards in Tableau Creator. Now you can use your Tableau online environment or your Tableau server environment if you have an Explorer license, but you basically just need to be able to create your dashboards, right? Your portal cannot create those dashboards for you. Next, you need a place to host your dashboard. Typically, you would host your dashboard on your Tableau server because you have to allow your portal to pick up the dashboard. So the investment dashboard, we are hosting it on our Tableau public site. And I'll show you why we're hosting it on our Tableau public site, and why it doesn't matter if you host it here or if you host it on, your Tableau server. The reason we just want to make sure we're hosting our dashboard on a Tableau environment so that we can get this embed code. And this embed code is what we need in order to embed it in our portal. You can get an embed code from your Tableau public account, and you can also get one from a server. If it's proprietary information, you don't want to share it with the world, which Tableau public, anything you upload, you're sharing it with the world, then you want to make sure that your hosting environment for your dashboard is obviously your Tableau server. From there, you also want to make sure you have a web server. Your custom portal has a unique URL to it. As you saw, the URL for our embedded analytics dashboard, our framework is lovelyticsfinance.com. Right? So you want to make sure that you have a web server to host your website. And next, in terms of customizing the actual portal itself, there are 3 things you need. You need to know HTML, and that's going to help you build out the web page itself and its various elements. JavaScript is what you're going to need for the functionality of the dashboard. So when you're clicking on things, when I click on log out, what is the log out doing? If I had a print button, what is the print doing? So that's the JavaScript, that's the functionality of it. And then last but not least, to customize the look and feel of it, you need the CSS. So that's like your colors, as you see, your drop shadows, things like that. So you need CSS to do all of that. And once you have all of those components, right, you can host your dashboard within a custom portal, as you see here. And you have a one-stop shop for your users to navigate without having to go to the Tableau server. With that, you'll probably see increased user adoption, less questions. You can even have like a contact us button here. Jake is on my team, so I know that I logged in, and you see Jake's face. Jake is a wonderful trainer and Tableau developer on my team. So this is what a custom portal looks like, and you still have the same navigation as you would on the Tableau server. So for those of you who are wondering if you can click, from dashboard to dashboard within the portal, absolutely. It's the same elements. And as you can see here, you have the Tableau logo down below, just to let you know, like, this is the embed code that's hosting this. You can also expand it and collapse it. So all of the same elements there. All righty. And with that, we've gone ahead and we've covered 2 main things today. One, we've talked about embedding dashboards in a custom portal. And then last but not least, we've covered creating templates in Figma and designing within Tableau. With that, I am Chantilly Jagannath. The webinar was recorded today. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Mike and I will be sure to crop that out. We'll be hosting the recap or the recording of this on designsecretsforanon-designer.com. On the site, you can also, I'll just go to it really quickly. You can also look at some of our previous recordings. These are a series that we've been doing on how to, just create better dashboards in Tableau. What are some of the secrets that we take into account? They're not secrets anymore, but obviously what are some of the things and the secrets that we take into account at Lovelytics when we're creating some of these amazing dashboards, and the team and I are really diving in. So go ahead and check out this site and watch some of our previous recordings and be on the lookout for some future ones. With that, Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
Definitely. So we have just a couple of quick questions today. And of course, right, if anyone has questions later on, by all means, feel free to email me. Here's a design one for you, Chantilly. So if the end user or the client wants a mobile version and a desktop version, do you just repeat your steps and make sure to format for mobile? Any other things to keep in mind there?
Yes. So typically when I am designing for mobile, I do not use the Figma background, right? So everything is floating when you use a Figma background template. However, I keep those same modern principles in mind even when I'm designing for mobile. Essentially, you want to just make sure that your dashboard is tiled so that when your user is on the mobile device, the elements are expanding. So with tiled elements, they expand. You can kind of see what the formatting, the end formatting is going to look like with it. So that's just my recommendation from a design perspective. When you're designing for mobile, I do not recommend using the Figma background, but keep those same modern design principles in mind and essentially just try to mimic that, with the tile design. You can accomplish it, and at some point we'll do a series on it, but just keep those things in mind.
And then remind us of the website you use to get icons.
Oh, flaticon.com. It's free, flaticon.com. It's free to download. You can search hundreds of thousands of icons, free to download. As long as you create a free account, you can edit the colors of your icons. And then the premium version is also pretty good, and I think it's $100 a year.
Cool. I think that's it for today. So again, appreciate everyone's time jumping on today. And of course, thanks for working through the technical difficulties. We will make sure to send out the recording afterwards and look forward to seeing you all again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.